Well, hey guys, and welcome back. Today we're in for a truly exceptional experience. My name is Jessica Leichtweisz. I'm the CEO of Hope Education Services. I love to interview adults with autism who truly have become exceptional individuals. I am actually as excited as you are to hear this person's story tonight. He has won 13 music awards. He's been on the billboard 14 times. He's been nominated for a Grammy 7 times. He has 4 Autism Activist Awards. And get this, he didn't start talking till he was 13 and a half years old at a 2-year-old level. And I mean, if there is anyone in the world who is an inspiration, who's proof that anything is possible, who is proof for parents to never, ever give up hope, to always have faith that your child can be, do, have anything you want. I mean, Marcus Boyd is one of the legends in the world of autism, the things he's doing, the people he's inspiring. I am so inspired by him, and it's a privilege and honor to bring him on the show today. So Marcus, welcome to my show. Welcome to the channel. I'm so excited to hear your story.
Hey, how's everybody going? And thank you for letting me be on your incredible, legendary platform. I'm a super fan.
Thank you so much. So, and many people know about me, I am a big believer including the autistic voice or adults with autism. People have a preference, so I use them interchangeably. I bring them on the channel because as professionals, we need to do a better job of listening to people that are living with autism and how we can be better and how we can do better. And also, I think as parents, professionals, we can tell you over and over, don't give up, don't give up, don't give up. But when you hear a story as exceptional as Marcus is, you just know that you should never, ever give up. So Marcus, you call yourself the boy with no voice. And so yes. I want to hear a little bit about that. When did you first get diagnosed with autism?
I got diagnosed at the Christmas Springs Mental Health Center in Decatur, Georgia by Dr. King, April 12th, 1993. I was 10 years old. From what I'm understanding, when I went to the doctors, I went to like 11, 12 of them. And, they was like, okay, he has severe autism. So they knew what it was, but they didn't know how to treat it. That's the thing. They didn't know medications. They didn't know any treatments or any exercises, anything that could help with the situation to make it better. They didn't know how to do none of those things. Only thing they told my grandma was that he'll never get an education. If anything, it'll be very little. He'll never clothe himself, feed himself, do anything for himself because the left side of his brain doesn't function correctly as other individuals. So it moves much slower than other individuals. So he would need a permanent caregiver to bathe him, clothe him, feed him, do daily activities and projects with him. At the end of the day, my grandma believed in God and a higher power first before she believed in what 10 to 11 different doctors who are basically saying the same diagnosis and the same things to her. She got kicked out of a lot of doctors' offices for putting holy oil everywhere and jumping on desks and start speaking in tongues and stuff. She was a warrior, but you have to understand because I come from a family of 22 children. My grandma had 24. So, it was a lot. You're talking about in the early 80s, I was born in 83. So, yes, autism did around for decades, generations, but it still wasn't publicized the way it needed to be back in the 80s, 90s. It wasn't really groups or pamphlets or brochures that you could get and read and understand what autism truly is, the different behaviors, the different levels. It wasn't like it is today. So, and then I didn't even know I was in special. I didn't know I was in special education. I didn't know when that white bus picked us up and they took us to the gym that we was part of the Special Olympics. They didn't know none of this stuff. They was just giving us red and blue ribbons. I just thought it was a field trip. Didn't know. So, it wasn't celebrated in my house like that. My biological father, Big Tommy, he didn't understand what autism was. He didn't understand emotional behaviors. He didn't understand, not talking to people and being isolated. He didn't understand tension tantrums. So, when you have 11 sons and one of your sons is not showing what the other boys are showing. So yeah, that's when you decide to pistol with me at 4 years old. Try to choke me with playground swings and stuff of that nature because I couldn't do what your other sons could do.
Yeah, it sounds like that was a really difficult time for you. And, I'm sorry you went through that with your father. That's something no one should ever have to go through. And, you are such a resilient and strong man who's contributing so much to the world. And I just want to let you know that, I think that's amazing. And, I am a praying woman and I don't talk about God often on this channel because this is largely education based. But, I do believe that, God has the power. If he had the power to split the sea, the power to keep the lions' mouths closed, the power to keep the furnace from burning the right people inside of it, anything is, he could do anything. It's easy for him, right? With just a little bit of faith. So I do believe in that. And I just want to thank you for sharing that and being bold for sharing that. And like I said, I don't talk about that often on the channel, but giving even me an opportunity to glorify God and his power and what he does on this is really a privilege. So thank you. You said that you were in special education when you were younger, but you didn't know it. You also said you weren't talking when you were in grade school and that you were diagnosed a little bit later. So what was that like as a child for you? Were you getting any services? Now, we know that today there's a lot of services available for autism to help kids. A lot of people don't realize, they think it's like, oh, well, back in the day when our grandparents were in school and they walked both ways uphill in the snow 375 days out of the year, right? But really, it was just 1987 when early intervention became a thing. And certainly, if you were born in 1983, 1985 even, this was a new concept. It's not like today where, you went to the pediatrician and at 2 years old, they're like, oh, well, they're not hitting milestones. Let's give them early intervention. And then let's talk to developmental pediatricians. So people didn't get diagnosed early in life and they didn't get the support early in life. So what was that like for you? How was it like being in school, but also not able to communicate? Were you with your peers? Were you with peers that were like typically developing, that were talking? Were you by yourself? What was that education experience like for you?
For me, it was like I was by myself at home. Even though it was 22 of us, my mom decided one day she wanted to chase the world with my biological father. So she dropped 22 kids at my grandma's house, which was a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom apartment in Brooklyn. So, and she already had 24 kids in that place. So you can only imagine. And then I'm nonverbal. So if somebody hit me, pick on me, slap me, whatever, play a little joke, I can't verbalize, say that person's messing with me. I can't do nothing. And then I'm already having trouble with emotional behaviors, my bathroom using, and all this other stuff. I'm having stupid trouble. And then at school, kids didn't want to sit by me. They said I couldn't sit by them. So my sisters, they were not even going to my same school. My sisters used to show up at every class, every lunch from their schools. And they sacrificed having boyfriends, talking on the phone, because they understood the severity of what I was dealing with. Now, my big brothers, again, I got 10 of them. They didn't do nothing to help. It was my sisters that was fighting bullies, that was fighting people that was trying to jump me and stuff me in lockers and make fun of me or put signs on my back and pick on me and stuff of that nature. It was my sisters. I got triplet sisters. We call them the J Squad. It was them. My sister Big Patty, that's a correctional officer, because she's like 6'8". It was her. Because ain't nobody really have to see Big Patty. That's just the truth. But it was hard for me. I had a best friend named Tony Rodriguez. He used to verbalize for me. He used to write on the paper, say, Marcus, how you feel? Okay? Not good? Mad. And he'll take my hand. He said, point. So I used to point to the block on the square that he put under the word. I didn't really understand it that good, but he used to speak slowly and repeat. He used to repeat the same sentence like 10, 12, 15 times for me to really get a little bit of it or to really understand a little bit of it. Tony was very patient. Unfortunately, Tony was in the streets. So, you know, when you 10, 11 years old, when you out there in that type of life, unfortunately, you get what that life brings. So, you know, when I was 10 years old, I'm watching my best friend head get, listen, I'm watching him pass away. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm watching him pass away, and it was very traumatizing to me because he was the only friend I ever had at that time. I ain't had nobody to speak to me. He did. I ain't had nobody to help feed me. His family fed us rice and beans and fish. That's what it was every night, rice and beans and fish. But I do miss him, and you know, it was more traumatizing for me because I have autism, and I'm trying to deal with him passing, me getting picked on, my child abuse at home. It was just a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot for anyone to handle. And you know, when people are told you're not going to amount to anything, you're not going to do anything, you know, people told you that, they told your parents that, they told your grandparents that, and you know, they were wrong. And you know, the kids who laughed at you, you know, 13 music awards, being nominated for Grammys, you know, Marcus, I just want to let you know, nobody's laughing now. Nobody's laughing now. You know, you bring up a really good point, and that's, you said that, you know, you weren't talking, you were nonverbal, but you seemed to understand what was happening. And you know, oftentimes professionals, parents, they'll talk about kids like they're not there, because the kids that are nonverbal, they're not talking. And you know, one of my favorite quotes in the world of autism is, just because someone's talking doesn't mean they have nothing to say. And also, just because someone can't talk doesn't mean they can't hear you. And you know, did you understand? And I'm asking you, and I know just from your story you did, but I want you to just reiterate for every parent and professional out there who thinks that a child is clueless because they can't talk, or they don't get what's happening because they can't talk, that they truly do understand who loves them, who doesn't care about them. They know if you're treating them right or treating them wrong. You know, they know that you're talking about them, and whether maybe they don't understand everything you're saying, but if it's good or bad. So, you know, what percentage of what did you understand about what was happening when you were younger? And what can you say to parents and teachers to help them understand that it's not okay to talk about a child like they're not a person, or like they don't have feelings when they're present in the room, just because they can't verbalize them?
For me, it was more subtracting. So every time I heard Big Tommy, which is his biological father, every time I heard Big Tommy say, you know, he's not my son, we need to get this mental R person away from me. You know, when I touched his Nintendo, and he got mad at me because I touched his Nintendo. That was the biggest thing at the time. So I touched his Nintendo, and he urinated on me near the fireplace for touching his Nintendo. I was almost 5. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, he used to tell my mom that she cheated on him to have this R child. And it made me subtract instead of making me flourish or like a flower, and feel like I have somebody with compassion or understanding, because I looked up to him. He was the first male role model I looked up to, because he was my father. And for him to reject me like that, it made me like, even if I did want to start trying to say something, I didn't, because of the rejection, because of the abuse, because of, I felt like nobody understood or cared about what's going on with me. And to any teacher, a parent, communication comes in so many different forms. It's not just writing, talking, verbalizing. It's not just sign language. It's not just, communication comes in so many different forms. I was a pointer. I used to point, or I used to run and grab stuff and don't let it go because I wanted it. I mean, I was the king of that. I mean, my grandma used to snatch me from JC Penney. I mean, I was the king of that. But you know, what we have to understand is, the more we talk bad about children that's nonverbal or feel like they can't hear you, they can hear. They sponges, and either they're gonna reenact what you say or what you do at school or playground or a friend's house or whatever. We have to understand, in this community, that compassion is 1,000,000% the way to start the process of seeing change in your child. Love, understanding, patience, and compassion. Those are the fruit, those are the ingredients that will help build a successful individual within your child. Because we just seeing the diagnosis. There's nothing wrong with us. You get diagnosed with stuff all the time. Bipolar, lupus, cancer. I mean, you get diagnosed with stuff all the time. But is it up to us to believe the diagnosis? Or is it up to us to understand what's happening and see past what's happening and find the greatness in what's happening? That's the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always tell parents, listen, be really careful what you tell your children because they're going to believe you. And if you tell them you can do anything, they're going to believe that. If you tell them you're not going to amount to anything, they're going to believe that too. You know, we talked about God in the beginning of this. And, you know, one of the things I know is that no matter how bad things look in the world right now, we know the end of the story, right? God wins, Satan loses. And we know the end of your story, not the end of your story, but we know where you are now in your journey. And we know that you won, right? That you're victorious, that you've overcome and accomplished so much. So how did you go from nonverbal to talking, to rapping, to influencing people, to becoming a speaker, a renowned speaker, and just being so eloquent? What was that process? What brought you out of that shell?
It was a team of people. It was a team of tireless, effortless, non-quitting people. It was my sisters, it was my grandmother, it was my foster parents, it was my foster family. You have to understand, I was in 16, 17 different group homes, 17 different foster homes, 16 to 17 different mental hospitals, 4 inpatient hospitals. You talking to somebody that went through electrical shock therapy. They don't even do that no more. But I was forced to do that to take pills. And it was, I done tried hooked on phonics, Muzzy, sticky notes, the big white Bible scriptures, Curious George, the big red dog. I didn't try. My sisters done read every book I think that's a children's book to me. They used to put yellow sticky notes on furniture, on appliances, and you up here getting me. I'm stuttering. I'm slobbing on myself and everything else. My speech therapist, Anna Gibbs, I was with her since 4 to like 20. My therapist, I was with her from like 4 to 20. I mean, my behavior rate, Bob Orton, I was with him from like what, 5 to 14 before he died? I mean, it was a group of people that sacrificed. My sister sacrificed dates, proms, like when they, like this is true story. When one of my sisters had a child, instead of the 30 to 60-day recovery, her doing that, I used to get brought to her house. She used to sit in her bed and read to me and make me sound out sounds, pronouns, syllables, verbs. She was in her bed recovering from having a child, and she was still doing it. So me at this point having a college degree from Ashford University online for journalism and mass communications, my sister. Me able to understand contracts and business, my sister, my grandmother. And me being like this is because I had people in my village who seen past my disorder.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. I mean, it's amazing. And just, you know, I've had parents say, like, a therapist, you become like part of the family. And sometimes as professionals, we do need to keep professional boundaries and separate ourselves. But, I think that it's interesting because I've had many years, I mean, I've been in the field for 13 years, and I've had times now where some of the kids I worked with are adults now, and they've contacted me and found me on social media and thanked me for working with them, or thanked me for the support that I gave them. And I think that sometimes professionals, we don't realize the impact we have. We might just think, well, we're in this kid's life for a season and, we're doing our best. But sometimes at 5 o'clock, we walk away, or when the contract ends, we walk away. And, I've worked with enough kids, and I would love to say I remember every single child I work with, but I don't. I remember a lot of them, and I remember the stories. I remember who a lot of the families, especially the kids I worked with for years. But I think that a lot of times families, we don't realize as therapists and practitioners that we can have a lasting impact on someone's life. And, for me, you reminded me of why I went into this field. So thank you. So when did you start rapping?
Well, I'm gonna answer that question too, but
Yeah.
for people like Dorothy Carr, God rest her soul, when she sacrificed, she was an intern in Decatur, Georgia, as a social worker. She had like 50, 60 cases. She had a 1992 Ford Taurus, no air conditioning. It was red, and she had runs in her socks. I mean, she was a big woman, but she still took me home to let me eat at her house. She brought me clothes and helped bathe me and help read to me. Brother Looper used to show up at my school, take me to lunch, dinners. I mean, like I've been to her family's house, her mom's house. I mean, she was my therapist. It went past therapy to child, or it went from social work to child. In my family, to this day, like their kids. That's family. It's not no that is. I mean, I get it. The HIPAA law, confidentiality, all the good stuff they have. No problem. But back in the late 80s, early 90s, it wasn't really like that. But to answer your question, I started rapping. Oh Lord, I'm 38. So 16, 17-ish, I started trying to write poetry. That's where it started. Poetry. Started trying to write poetry. I only wrote about what I seen or what I heard because I'm from the project. So, you only can imagine that type of real life stuff. So I was trying to write what I seen and what I heard or what I heard somebody else experience. Because I was too ashamed to talk about my own experience with autism.
Yeah. And you come past that today. I mean, you have, like you said, 13 music awards. You've been on the Billboard 4 times, nominated for 7 Grammys. I mean, truly, truly incredible. So before, and now, right now, I have a couple of questions before we get to this, but what do you think about rapping a little bit for us today before we end out today?
Sure, freestyle or something.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll close out tonight with a little bit of rap. I will ask you to keep it PG-13 because sometimes parents listen to this with their.
Oh yeah, I don't cuss. I don't cuss. I'm a gospel rapper. So
okay, perfect, awesome. Well, I'm excited to hear it. I think my last question before we get to that rapping, what advice would you give to parents who are watching this, who are looking at you and just saying, man, I really hope my child who is struggling, who is not talking, who right now can't take care of himself, that everybody is telling me this person is going to, your son is going to need, your daughter is going to need care for the rest of your life. And they're sitting there, they're staying up at night and thinking, what if I'm not there? What's going to happen? Who's going to take care of them? And they believe in their heart still that their child is going to be okay, that they're going to be self-sufficient, they're going to accomplish things, they're going to be healthy, they're going to be happy. What advice would you give that parent?
I would say, again, I'm not trying to sound religious or disrespect anybody's beliefs or views, but I would say definitely you have to put God first. There's no other way about it. There's no other way around it. And you have to introduce your child to what you believe your child will become. If you introduce them to crippling activities or crippling situations, to where you feel like they need to be next to you or under you because of this situation, then that's probably the situation you're going to be dealing with for a lifetime. But if you introduce them to independence, if you introduce them to being self-sufficient, if you introduce them to using their minds and using their creativity past themselves or past what they think they can do. Because see, we never know. We never will be able to catch a rainbow if we don't chase it. We'll never be able to achieve a goal if we don't push for it. And faith without works is dead. So we have to be able to, you have to continue to push your child towards greatness. Yes, this is a little stumble in the road. Yes, okay. But your child is still great, still a genius, still is creative, still can do anything he or she puts their mind to because they are the future of this world. And autism is just a title. Let's just keep it honest. It's just a title. That don't mean that your child can't be great, a lawyer, doctor, judge, or anything else. It's just a title. We have to look past the title and look into the greatness. Yes, they may be in dealing with IEPs, or they may be in smaller classrooms, or they may have emotional fits or behaviors. Because at almost 40, I still have emotional fits. I still certain colors I can't, wear. There's certain sounds even as a music producer, there's still sounds that bother me. It's too loud that I can't deal with or take. There's certain foods that I can't eat just because of the colors. I still throw flat screen TVs, computers, because a note wasn't right, because I couldn't put a string in a beat, because I think somebody's on Instagram is talking about me on a post. I'm telling you, like, I destroyed so many flat screen TVs and laptops. It's not even funny. It's really not. I mean, but again, thank God for my team and people that's around me and family to be able to understand and love me through that. Because again, if I didn't have that, it could easily put me some home, some hospital, or some place for adults. Even as an autism activist, I struggle. But thank God I have a village behind me. So to any parent, to any individual that has autism, you're not alone. Because I stand with you. I believe in you. And my village is your village. Your village is my village. So we are in this together.
Yeah, and I mean, it's such a powerful message. And thank you for being vulnerable and sharing the fact that, it's easy to look at you and just see all the amazing things you've done, but to forget that a person still struggles. And I think that's the problem a lot of adults with autism have said to me, is that, my struggle is now silent. And I had someone who today, and it was talking about something different, but they just said to me today, they said, if you see someone in a wheelchair, you see a disability. But if you see someone who has a social disability or a learning disability, it's not a disability you can see. And yes, we can wear a mask, and yes, we can blend in, and yes, we can focus on our accomplishments, but there are still things behind closed doors that we struggle with, and that oftentimes, gets overlooked, and we forget that a person still struggles. We forget that, yes, now you went from nonverbal and you went from being severely autistic to, yes, okay, now you have music awards, and now you're on the billboard charts, and now you're producing music, but you're still autistic. The autism didn't go away. That's part of who you are. It's part of who you're always going to be. And yes, it's just a label, and it does not define you, and you do not let it define you. But you may still have struggle. You may struggle still. There may always be struggles for you, and that we have to just accept someone, love someone for who they are, celebrate the victories, but also realize that it's still hard. The autism doesn't go away at 18, it doesn't go away at 21 when the IEP stops. It doesn't go away just because, society standards of success say, like, you're accomplished, you don't look autistic anymore. You can change your behavior out in the community. It doesn't mean you don't struggle. And can you talk about that in closing before we go on to your wrapping, which I'm so excited to hear?
Like I said, I still have emotional behaviors. There's times I just rather be alone. There's times I feel suicidal. There's times I don't want to be here no more. There's times I feel like I'm a bum. I'm not doing nothing with my life. There's times that I feel like being an autism activist may be too much. There's a lot of times I struggle with decisions. There's a lot of times I struggle with, can I keep pressing on? Can I keep doing this? But every time I feel like I want to quit, or give up, or stop, then there's another call or text I get from one of my team members or family members and stuff, just checking on me, just making sure you're okay. If you need to talk, you can call me at 3, 4 in the morning. I'm here. But you have a purpose. You have a goal, and you're a visionary. Don't stop. That's the end of every text, or every DM. You have a purpose. You have a goal. You're a visionary. Don't stop. So even when I get in my mode of having self-pity or not wanting to do it. Just forget the world. Let me hide behind my pillow in my bed. You know, don't knock on my door. No meetings today. When I feel alone and depressed, you know, you got messages coming from everywhere saying, we need you. You're a voice in this world. You're important in this world. So anybody, not just people with autism, but especially people with autism, you're important in this world. Your voice matters. You are somebody. You are somebody special. You're a genius, and you are very talented and creative. Don't let this or anything stop you. Don't let a no stop you or turn you around. Continue to get a no because you're going to get a yes from a no. Don't stop your goals or your dreams. Keep reaching beyond infinity.
That's beautiful advice to close with. And I have, you said it perfectly. I have nothing to add to it. So, Marcus, can you give us a little rap?
Sure. The 16 will be from where I'm sitting, things are different. I ain't feeling the same. My brother's just because I'm guessing I'm losing the game, providing I'm lame. Angry, never shooting up blame. Knowing I should be loving God, but still rebuking the same. Losing my brain, I care about move for fame. I rise to the top like humans doing a suit in the chain. Using my name, I fight to resist. Disciples of miss. I think, where would I be without a mic in my fist? Cyphers of bliss with these verse a list of emotions that straight to give a line of the twist. I'm climbing a cliff, I fight to resist. Lord, can I get a witness for the struggle see endless? It starts with repentance. Let me cradle in your arms like an infant. Your eyes are menacing. Never mind my sins are hindrance. Without you, I'm negligent. So what would I do because of you?
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yes.
I appreciate you. Marcus, you're an inspiration. I know people were inspired by your story today. I just hope that, if you're watching this video, share it, please. Because truly, Marcus's story is beautiful. So please share it. It will be an inspiration to everybody who watches it, whether they have a child with autism or not. His story is just one of victory. It's one of faith. It's one of just showing that anything and everyone is possible. It's inspirational, so everyone will be inspired by it. So thank you, Marcus, so much for being on this channel. I appreciate you. If you have a question for me, if you wanted to reach out to Marcus, you could reach me at my website. It's hopeeducationservices.com, and Marcus will have all your social links in the comments below. So if you wanted to reach out to Marcus, you can do that as well. So have an amazing day. God bless you, Marcus, and thanks for being on my show.